A great show for you guys today. Let me go ahead and remind you, make sure to follow along dtitrader.com/telegram. The information that Tom gave us in TNT this morning was valuable to seeing the way the market was breaking, especially Nvidia, giving a little bit of a turnaround there, but markets below those pivot numbers giving up a bit of the gains from yesterday. We still got a lot of big numbers to pay attention to right now. We're back above the open of the year in the S&P futures. By the way, welcome in to our friends from YouTube, dtitrader.com/YouTube. Glad you're able to come along and participate. Now, throughout this session, we're going to be talking about markets, and whenever we talk about markets, we have to have a disclaimer. So let's go ahead and look at that real quick. Let me get that out of the way. Let's see. The way it starts out, of course, is there is risk in trading. There's a very high degree of risk in trading. You and you alone are going to be responsible for the decisions you make. We'll certainly, tell you what we're looking at, but you get to make the trading decisions, which means you're going to be responsible for them. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. We want to make sure that you guys consider risk when you go through what we're looking at. Now, some of the big news shaping the market, we've got the winds of war, U.S. Iran tensions. There are negotiations going on in Geneva right now. They have been paused, expected to resume, but that is part and parcel of negotiations. So we're going to hear every little bit coming out of there. Plus, Russia-Ukraine negotiations. I believe it was Lavrov actually came out and said there is no timeline, and I think that might have been one of the non-economic factors that helped to kind of roll this market a little bit. Now, tomorrow we've got PPI early in the morning. Producer Price Index, measure of inflation. We'll have to see how that one works out. And today is the penultimate day of the month. I've always enjoyed that word, Tom, penultimate. It's the next to last. And that's what we're on. Big name for, well, what's turning out to be a big market day, 100-point range in the E-mini S&P before we even get to the Genesis bar. And of course, for the next not quite 48 hours, but the next day and a half, we'll be setting up the month of March, which will open Sunday night in the futures, Monday morning for our stocks. So let's get Tom's opinion here. Tom, what are you seeing? Because this has been a very active morning.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting because this morning, after watching it trade last night and this morning, Nvidia, was breaking the that range I gave, the 193 to 203, and I said, well, that means, and I use the term, it won't be Christmas. Yesterday was Christmas, okay, and I think that you have days like that, and you could tell the way I wrote up TNT today and my deal. I said, these hands off the mouse, let's study it. And then I gave a pivot number of 69.55, and I thought, well, it's hanging in here. And the next thing I know, we break that. And the next thing I know after that, we go in a free fall. We went down below the 69.38 number, Chuck, which is the monthly open for Feb. And then we dropped to the yearly open, 69.02. And I said, well, where are they going to stop? So I went and looked, and I was shocked because this is what, Thursday? I said, goodness gracious. Put this in perspective. We opened the week at 68.52. We're still up for the week. And I said to myself, okay, just be patient. And then we went down to 68.70, which is a good stopping point. And all of a sudden you get buyers stepping in. We get back above the yearly open. And I think it's very volatile. And I think there's, when you see that, the first thing I do, I will go to the VIX future, which was about 19 and falling from yesterday, is now over 20. That throws us back into a market turmoil stage. Then you start looking around, and you got gold and silver. And right now, gold's got a little bit more push to it than silver. And I just said, so staying out of the market, sometimes you're making money. And I think that's what I'm doing, watching the market right now, trying to use a little patience here, because I think that it's a tough day when you come off a day like yesterday. I mean, you're at 69.09, market's recovered. You now have a market pushing back. Obviously, the midpoint is going to be up there around for today is 69.20. It's dropped from 69.55 area, so it's coming down. I think the market is probably going to be driven by the outcome of those talks. The winds of war are going to heat up if we hear nothing. In other words, you don't hear, oh, these talks were great, we got another meeting, or you hear nothing. You're not going to get the truth probably the Saturday or Sunday when the winds of war are going to turn into a storm. Okay. And George is asking, do you hold on to the GLD and silver trades from yesterday? George, a great question. I typically, on an option play, will give it 72 hours. If you look, that's a good rule, because early this morning you want to pitch everything, and then all of a sudden silver and gold get a bid and start coming back. So if you look, and you again look, going back and looking at silver's opening this week, we're still up, and gold we're still up. Now I can give you a number that would take some of the pressure off. If we get above 52.15 on gold, that take pressure off of gold. If we get above 90.50 on silver, then that would take pressure off. GDX is another one, needs to go above 112 to take pressure off. But everything, this is what I'm talking about. It's not Christmas every day when you're trading options. And you have to be very, very careful that you give that. If you're going to take an option, you raise your hand and say, how much am I going to put in that option, number one, and how much time am I going to give it? The rule I tell everybody to use is 72 hours. That's saved a lot of people that's been through our schools, been here in person, and everything else. Wouldn't you say the 72-hour rule for people that use it is turn your account around? It takes the emotions out of it because you're on the clock, so to speak, right? 72-hour rule. Because just looking at a chart, you just pitch it. Might be a bad thing to do because your emotions are running high. How many people are using the 72-hour rule? Let me ask that question. Give me some feedback. I meet with people in person, okay? Yeah, people are saying, Tom, changed my account. I'm a profitable trader now because of it. Everything's cool. So if you hear me use the phrase, and it hit me this morning when I was doing T-Buzz TV, every day's not Christmas. Well, you can remember as a kid, having kids, you can remember how big Christmas Day is. That's a big day like yesterday. And then today, it's not Christmas. That's my thoughts. That's my opinion. Well, welcome to T-Buzz Talk and Trade, Train and Trade. It's a pretty interesting place to be every day at 11. We get a chance to see RB3, and it makes it pretty nice that we can meet with everybody, and people seem to be happy meeting at this time. Does this time work for everybody? Would you like me to change the time, or is this a good time for everybody? I'd like to do it at 12 because I like the sound of high noon. But I like to prepare for Genesis, and so 11 seems to be a good time after the first hour. I think it's a good time. Even in California, it's not a bad time, right? Okay. T-Buzz Talk and Trade. Now, I think this is something, if you learn what we do in there, and Chuck and Jonathan, we really need to put about 4 or 5 videos together, update on the power of this 24-hour look at the market, what we do in here, and the trades that we track and that thing. Okay, I think that's good. Resources. Who wants it, Chuck or Jonathan?
We got Tom's first book for you, completely free, complimentary. Click that link there, and you'll see a chapter by chapter audio form you can listen to on your daily walk. Getting warm again out, at least down south. You can do this while you're mowing the lawn. Your choice, but it's a nice little format here, chapter by chapter. We got the white paper booklet. This is a Google document that has a bunch of white papers on it. You can click the links that say click here, or you can just start scrolling down and read. Seven Sisters, reference bars, pivots, all right here on the white paper booklet. And I would say that the top 4 or so are the most important, maybe even top 5, these 5 right here. Seven Sisters, deep dive white papers or reference bars, pivots, key terms, and setting up the week. We got Tom's YouTube page. Click on that. You'll head over to the YouTube page. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel when you're there. You can see we're live right now. I'm already subscribed. It's right here next to Tom's name and photo. Like and subscribe if you like what we do. Give us a thumbs up on the videos if you're watching on the live session. And then after we're done, if you click on the live tab right here, all right, you'll see the recordings. Right, there's from today, here's last night, here's yesterday. So all the recordings that we have, at least we're live on YouTube, you'll find them there on the live tab from the YouTube channel. Important terms to know. This is another Google document. I read a little bit about different abbreviations we use and other important terms there. We got Tom's penalty tape. Now, if you click on this, it'll just go to an audio form here. All right, and it's about an hour and 5 minutes. We're going to have a quiz. And quiz is a bad word. It might make your hair stand up, but we're doing a 5-question quiz tomorrow with a prize. Tom, isn't that right?
That's right.
So just to make sure you listen to that. I know a lot of you already have, but if you haven't yet, spend a little bit of time this evening listening to that. And I don't know what Tom's got up his sleeve for a prize, but we'll do that tomorrow during training trade. Options Playbook is a great free website to learn about options. You can click the option strategy drop down here if you want to learn about covered calls, protected puts, collars, all the rookie, they call it rookie strategy, the basic strategy you learn first. And then you get into the outright long calls, and then as complicated as you want to get there. All right, Tom, 5 steps to success in March.
Yeah, this morning I was sitting here thinking, I pretty much start looking ahead here at the end of the month for next month. I've always done that because I like to accumulate, maybe look at some stock that I've traded in the past that might be good winners right now. Just sort of to get a feel for what is happening in the market, and then being able to go into the weekend and do a little extra research on some of these great stocks that we end up picking. And I just thought, since I'm doing that myself right now, I might as well take you through it to go through the 5 steps for success in March. And Jonathan put this together. I'm very proud of what he put together. I want to make this a staple, John, make it to the resource page, okay? Because I think it's that good, okay? It's probably one of the best the best takes on how to prepare for each month. And so if I was you, listen to what I got to do, or listen to what I'm going to say, and then listen to this and really memorize these things. This is really something we could charge for, actually, but I wanted to give it to everybody because I think it's going to help make you a better trader. The first 3-day algo. This is something we start every month with, and we have it set up that the first 3 days is a way to figure out which stocks are in vogue, so to speak, and which ones are not, or what's hot and what's not is another way of saying that. But we will find out early on March 1st trading day that maybe some of the leadership will change and stock will start performing. And so we'll build that list, add to it, subtract from it over the course of the month. But why do we do all this work? Why do we look at it every day? We're all trying, at least I am, and I hope you are too. I'm trying to put together a winning formula for that month to take advantage of whatever the trend is. Here's how it works. A stock makes a high and low for each trading day, which naturally forms resistance support letters for that. Like yesterday, we went up to 69.83. We hadn't seen it today on the rally. We've been less than that. We went below 69.41. My pivot number was 69.55. What happened? We kept dropping, telling me the market's trend from yesterday is not Christmas. For the 3-day algo, we specifically care about the high and low for the first 3 days of the month. This is our foundation, the opening, high, and low for those 3 days. The highest high and lowest low for those first 3 days tell us so much. But here is where the candy is found. If you do this, if a stock gets above that 3-day algo, it's setting up for bullish for the month. To the tune, if it does that, the odds favor. This is a great stock to own. It's a great stock to use for options, different strategies that are bullish. If it falls below that, then maybe it's time, if you got it in your portfolio, to do covered calls or eliminate it. A trigger in either direction means our stop goes at the other side of the range. And that's just the way you play it. A broad-based picture saying, hey, we're above the 3-day high. This is where I'm wrong if it closes below. Always start with the 7 sisters. Why do I use the 7 sisters from futures? Well, I guess out of habit, because it gives me, as a trader, look, has anybody ever heard they're tracking flow of funds in the market? That statement, they're tracking flow of funds in the market. Well, this here has been tracking flow of funds for years, way before they came up with that deal, okay? Flow of funds. My 7 sisters putting it on the algo tells me the answer to the question, i.e., if I'm above the 3-day high on the S&P 500, SPY, NVIDIA, all that, then the flow of funds are going into that ticker. Now, here's the beautiful thing. How do you simplify 25 tickers to find out what to do? Very simple. You go 75% of stocks will follow the S&P. So like this morning, no matter how good some of these stocks looked yesterday, day before, with that S&P headed south, did you notice everything went down? Everything went down. And that's what you think about. That's why I followed S&P. Okay? That's what you do. Our study of the past years indicated the SPY opened above the 3-day algo any day during the month. There was an 87% of odds that the month finished positive. So to know the answer to that, you'd have to say, well, where's the SPY open above that high of the month? And then what do the odds say? Knows 87% of the time the market will go up during that case, but there's still 13%. I like these odds. how the month will finish. Okay? So it's good. Jonathan made a point here in the chat room. This month, the SPY did not have a day that opened above the 3-day high. Jonathan, what was the 3-day high? It never had a day it opened above that 3-day high. That's very important because all month long we've been corrected. Okay? Now, Jonathan, take it away here on the 3 days and tell them how they can retain this every day as we update it throughout the day and the week.
Yeah, great. Because the slide there said February FTD stocks because we're still in the month of February, but the link will not change. This spreadsheet will not change. And so on the slides, which have been posted, I'll post them again in a moment. What you're going to do is you're just going to click there where it says click here. And we'll have this same slide tomorrow. And we'll have the same slide next week, except next week it'll say March FTD stocks and so on for the months ahead. After you click on that link, it brings you to this spreadsheet here. This is a Google spreadsheet. It's great because we can share it online and the link doesn't have to change. And if you click the star at the top right of your browser, it should bookmark it to your favorite web browser. Hopefully you use that feature. If you not familiar with web browsers, most of them have that little star at the top. You can kind of save links for the future, for future, reference. And usually they call that a bookmark. Anyways, all basic website stuff. Click the star at the top right. You should have it saved for later on. Now, you can't edit this. Only I can edit it. But that's the way we want it. We don't want, 100, 200 people editing the same spreadsheet. And I update this every day. Let's get it updated now. Usually I update it in the morning time after the cash open, sometime between, in the first half hour. And then I'll update it again here as we're live for train and trade. And I try to remember to give you the date and time in which it was updated. It's not a continuous update. It's only when I update it. But we were talking about the SPY. The high for the 3 days was 696.96. Had a day that came close to opening above, but didn't officially open above the high.
Remember, was it early in the month?
Yeah, it was like days 6, 7, 8, somewhere around there, real early in the month.
The reason I ask that because typically it's going to happen early in the month, giving you a head start for all these other huckleberries out there. And I love having an edge. This is an edge. Let me ask the question. How many of you have this saved on your computer that you're learning how it works to check the current flavor of the market? I think it's one of the best things that we've done in a long time, having.
Tom, another little nugget that me and some of the folks in a room over the past year or so discovered from studying it more is that typically when a stock opens above its 3-day high, it's usually good for about a 10-day trade. If the trade works and works well, it's usually good for about 10-day holding time. So I don't have any true stats on that, but just from doing a quick study of this with a bunch of students in the room, we figured that out. 10 days, if you had to give it a number, 10 days was a good holding time. So that's a pretty cool little nugget we discovered from that too.
Nugget. Jonathan, you get a couple questions in there. They would like, some people that members would like how to set it up in detail, like the link, and Bob says we can't open it. Maybe explain how to fix that kind of stuff.
Here's a spreadsheet link, excuse me. It's from my understanding, what everybody else says in the Zoom is you can left click on the Zoom chat on that link and it opens it in your browser. If it doesn't do that, then I guess you'll have to email me, but I'm pretty sure it does that. I'll post my email if you need to email me.
Steve's saying 10 days or 72 hours. Explain the difference.
Steve, we build this spreadsheet for a focus on the full month. Of course, there's 30 days in the month. And the extra insight there is obviously first of all, it has to form the 3 days first, so that if there's a 30-day month, first of all, only about 21, 22 days of those are going to be trade days, right? Well, and then 3 of those are taken out from the first 3 days. So now you're down to, maybe 19, maybe 20 if you're, at max 18, 19 days of trading days in the month. And quite simply, if something triggers, it's usually good for about 10 days. Once it's run 10 days higher from my study, and again, there's no actual data on this, I'm just telling you from my opinion from doing the study, that 10 days was around about how long the stock can move for the month. And you can do with that what you will. All right. Don't, bet your house on it. But once you get into trade for the month based on this spreadsheet, based on the 3-day algo, if it's ran up 8, 9, 10 days and you haven't taken profit yet on this monthly setup, then you probably should think about taking some profits. All right. That's all it is.
Yeah, one thing I'd point out, another little nugget. Everybody see the bonds there, ZB, and it's got long. Everybody see that long in futures right there? Everybody see that. That's important for the anchor people. Notice that the 3-day high was 115.15 and we're currently 117.24. What I have found, if the bonds go into a buy signal like that, you can buy the futures, my futures people, you can buy that futures and hold it for the month. One contract would have paid you about 2,500 bucks. I think that is a heck of an insight to watch every month for the bonds. I mean, it's there. It's stable. Once it breaks, it pretty well trends. I could isolate that, go back, a couple of years and give you the data, but I don't have to. I know it works. Everybody see what I'm talking about? And those TLTs long also. Okay. Now we played TLT yesterday long, and it's made a new high today. That's good. I haven't checked that trade, but anyway, I thought that was sort of interesting looking at TLT.
Yep, it's doing good. Let's see what else we got here. We got, financials have been short pretty much all month. Short meaning they're below their 3-day low to start the month of February. They got below that and pretty much stayed below that. Okay, all month long. Utilities have been bullish.
That means lower interest rates, and if they might not, the Fed might not be doing, but the market's doing it in advance right now.
We got Pan American Silver and Newmont Mining long. Those have been long. King Gold, GLD, GDX, FCX, those have been long pretty much the whole month too. Still looking good. And then you got your meta stocks, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft are all short. Nvidia was bullish there for a moment leading up to earnings. And then they, saw what they did on earnings. But that's one of the reasons why if you talk to us at DTI, we're never entering positions right before earnings. We don't want to gamble like that. And that's, you see the reason why there with Nvidia. We prefer to trade after the report. And we have a whole strategy on doing that.
And let me give you an idea. Okay, you notice Nvidia's got 87.20 February open. Everybody notice that? And Nvidia's trading 87.72. So if you look at the low, which is 172, does everybody see that 172 level right there? Okay. So it's above its monthly open, but it's not higher than 190 was later. That would set NVIDIA up not for a call option, but for a credit spread where you sell a put and it has 3 of those a week. So it's really an income generator also, this sheet. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah, all sorts of different ways you can play this spreadsheet. See what else we got here. General Motors is short. Palantir short. Grid long. Sats short. Sky. Johnson & Johnson, McDonald's long. BTU. And by far if you're brand new to this spreadsheet, you want to start with the S&P and the NASDAQ up here. And if they're long, then the odds for making money to the long side are increased. And that's really the most accurate way to say this. If they're short, the odds of making money to the short side are increased. And if they're short, you shouldn't be thinking about buying stocks. All right, this is how we want you to use this spreadsheet to help you stay on the right side of the market there. That it does not mean that there's no risk in the trade. There's always risk in the trade. You should prepare. And Tom mentioned it earlier. Whenever you trade an option, you have to decide first, how much am I willing to put in there, and am I willing to lose that amount? Because options have an expiration. All right, so you still have to do all that. No matter how you prepare to trade the market, you still have to manage your risk and go from there. You all know this, but good to repeat and hammer home the point there. Hey,
So
Tom,
make sure you got this on your computer. I know a couple people didn't have it on the computer. I don't know why you wouldn't. We mentioned this a lot. We went to very specific detail as we go into March, because this subject matter today is how to have success in March. And I think this is a good way to start off covering this.
we have a question about how to catch the replay. Go to dtitwitter.com/YouTube and click on the live tab. I showed that live I guess it was about 5-10 minutes ago. But if you're just tuning in, go to dtitwitter.com/YouTube. It's Tom's YouTube page, and you can catch the recordings on the live tab.
Yeah, they tell me y'all need to give a thumbs up if you like what you see. So we haven't had much growth there, but I didn't know that people were supposed to do that. And evidently that's important for the YouTube page. Okay. If you got a suggestion on that, send it to Roe at DTI Trader, and me and him will talk about it. All right, the next step, we got 3 features I look at every month, one every day, but it's called the Trade Tracker, Money Maker, and High Noon Scanner. Now, if somebody asked a question, do they go from month to month? Yeah. What I do, if I'm bullish on a stock going into the next month, waiting for those 3 days, stock perform well, I use just a simple 5-day low. As long as it doesn't make a 5-day low, I let it play out the first 3 days. I saw somebody ask that question. Great question. And I wanted to answer that. But the trade tracker feature of the roadmap is focused on the first 3 days. And Jonathan, take it away and tell them what they're looking at.
Well, this is just a little bit more involved than the spreadsheet we hand out, but it's for roadmap holders. And the nice thing about this is it's live. You can get a live update. You can see there that gold futures very clearly are above the 3-day high. You can see that from the green color code. And bonds are even stronger. They're above their 3-day high and the starting trade day for the week. WS stands for week start. So you got the month open column. It's color coded. If the last traded price is above it, it's green. The box is green. If it's below it, it's red. See there the S&P. Open the month at 69.38. It's at 69.32. So we're below that. That's why that box is red. The S&P is below the first 3 days high, but it's above the first 3 days low. So that's why the FTD high box is red, because we're below that, but the FTD low box is green because we're above that. And since we're in between the 3-day high and low, that last traded box is neutral, right? If we get above 70.27, the last box will go green, just like gold. Or if we fell below the low, the last box would go red, just like Bitcoin. So that's how the color coding works. Pretty straightforward, right? And then
and I want to point out, look at bonds, ZBM26. Across the board, it's green. And that's sending a message to people. Say if you were going to be building a house and had a mortgage and everything, rates are coming your way. So that's good news for you, because the rates are coming down. That's what that's saying. And you want to trade it on the future side, you should be smiling. That's another good news point.
Yeah, and I took this snapshot when I was building the slides early in the morning. This is I could update it now. But Andres, yeah, the current price is 69.04 on the S&P. This is a standstill snapshot on our slides, a little bit early this morning. But someone asked what WS means. That's week start. The first trade day of the week. Usually it's Monday, so usually the Monday high and low. Unless Monday's a holiday, then it would be Tuesday's high and low. Sean asked
Sean,
what?
I would look at the bond futures first because TLT is going to follow it. You want to go on, Jonathan?
Yeah, I was just going to reiterate what you said. That's the trade tracker, great tool of the roadmap. It's been in there for about 2 years now. So if you get the roadmap license, you'll have the trade tracker under tables. Next up, I know is one of your favorite features. Tom, you use it every morning in TNT.
Right. I post it every morning and I post it throughout the day. Jonathan and Chuck help me with that. But like if I'm looking at my money maker right now, I've got 68.70 as a sell, telling me that's how, 68.70, how low we went. And I've got 7,005 is my resistance up there. And I'm looking at where stocks might go. If if this was Christmas, I'd look a lot closer at it, but it gives me a broad-based picture where things should be. I can tell you that if we go to 7,005 to the upside, GLD, for example, currently trading at 476, is going to rise to 491. A lot of people don't realize that when the market goes up, there's an 88.4% correlation with gold and silver. Did y'all know that? 88.4. So the market, gold and silver, really surprise a lot of people when the market goes up. And there's the numbers, and you can see it. The diamond would get back above 500 if we got above 7,005. TQQ would break out above 52.13, and Apple would go about 278. NVIDIA would make it back to 193, which is the low number. Think about this for earnings. It's NVIDIA right now, it's got a little weight on it, looking at it from the top side. Jody, there's an 88.4% correlation with the S&P. If the S&P goes up, 88.4% of the time gold and silver go up. John, we typed the ES buy and sell numbers in there based on our roadmap, and that's how we do it. Now, when we go into a new month, we have scanners located inside the roadmap, some of them specifically designed. My favorite by far is the high noon scanner. It's simple, but it's an effective way to find stocks showing strength or weakness, both ways. Because if the market starts going down, I want to know what stocks to go into to the short side. Stock going up, I want to know if there's anything I miss when it's going up. But the high noon scanner goes through there, calculates the stocks that are setting up, and gives you a heck of an opportunity as you're trading. Very simple to use too, not complicated. Now, the roadmap also has 4 patterns. I always talk about these 4 patterns: a buy signal, sell signal, buy failure, and sell failure. It's that simple. You get the roadmap software, you go learn those 4 patterns, you're gonna be better than about 70% of the population. Even pros don't see what you see.
Yeah, we're actually simplifying it even more with the next slide before we talk about those buys, 4 buy sell signals. We just want to focus on a 2-bar pattern here with this.
Yeah, let's talk about that. With the market selling off below the RB3 reference bar, a comment I put in there, we got to wait to RB3 and it was negative, but with it selling off, there's other signs to see the market turning that you can look at in between reference bars. For example, we went down to 68.71 and then we got a 2-bar pattern that went up on a counter trend rally, and now on Genesis, it looks like it's leaking a little bit on the E-mini. But knowing these, I always look at the current bar, is that bar on the right, and the preceding bar is the bar on the left when I'm trying to decide is it time to get in after I get a buy signal. Very simple technique for making things work your way. Any questions about what I call the school of chart reading that I teach? Simple.
Yeah, and the simplicity of this is why we like the high noon scanner so much. It focuses on a weekly time frame. What it does is it'll filter stocks bullish if they're above the monthly open and above the prior week's high, higher high, higher low type thing. It'll filter bearish stocks if they're below the month open or they're below the prior week's low, a lower low type situation. So we do it on a weekly basis. And the high noon scanner filters all those stocks that fit the criteria into the report. And we can narrow down to our top 20 longs versus our top 20 shorts. I could fit about 15 or so of each onto the screen, but this is based on a percentage change from the month open. You see all the bullish to the left, strongest being LITE, and you see the bearish on the right, weakest being this NSP on down.
This is and folks, if you got stocks in a portfolio, this is a fast look at where you ought to really look closer if you're long those stocks.
Yeah, a few people are typing in some of their favorites from the bullish side.
Yep.
Using the roadmap. So that's a high noon scanner. All right, Tom.
MTI by DTI. Learn the green arrow approach. There's a lot more people than Frank out of California, but that's a dramatic, what I would call in a very difficult market, a dramatic performance he's had personally. And he said this to me over the phone. I just follow the green arrow approach. I like simple. And so I will tell you, it's pretty easy with MTI by DTI. This is the SPY. If you look on the right side, you see the short term, got a red arrow there. So you don't see me trying to buy the market right now, do you? If you look on the left-hand side, you got to get a little bit more detail. That's more of a daily version. But if you look on the left-hand side, you see that those two white lines, and you see on the left-hand side, it's trying to go higher. So what you want to do is match those two if you're new to it. You get inside of matching after you get some experience. But what I mean by match, they're both that top line on the left and top line on the right. That's usually a pretty good market that's trending. Or the bottom line on the left and the bottom line on the right is a good point that trends also. Okay, up or down. Totally unbiased look.
And another little thing I tell people in the afternoon when we talk about MTI is, you really want to see these white MTI lines, which is what the indicator is based on. You want to see it trending up too, like stair stepping up. And we had a little change here this week. Look at that. The stair step down. So you got to keep an eye out on that too for whatever stock you're looking at. There's the QQQ. Look at that stair step down we've been in on the MTI lines.
A little warning there, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. There's the diamond.
Now, the diamond has outperformed the other two if you look at it, because you got, I think that's a green arrow, isn't it, Jonathan? Green arrow. Yeah, I know you got one on the right. Is there a green arrow on the left?
We're waiting for another higher high for a green arrow, a new green arrow on the
Right.
daily
Higher
chart.
high takes us to a green arrow. Wendy asks, why is this particular feature a separate purchase from the roadmap? Well, Wendy, this didn't come free to us. We paid programmers and worked on it for about a year to get it. And so we have to recoup what we paid for it. We don't make much money off of it. That's why. Okay.
Yeah, and this is an indicator built for Thinkorswim. So Schwab's Thinkorswim platform. If you use that, you can get the MTI by DTI and we'll load it on the computer for you. Here's USO, Tom.
Very interesting. Why would oil be going up? Y'all think of any reason why oil's going up? And no, Rob, I'm not. I'm out on the diamond. Winds of war, right? That's exactly right. It's playing out in the oil market too, isn't it? It says, how much emphasis should we put on the yellow arrow? Honestly, Jonathan, how would you answer that question?
The yellow arrows are there for if it's in a buy signal and it gets you out, it stops you out. Or if it's in a sell signal, it stops you out. That's what the yellow arrows are for. And then the green and red arrow pops up if it's a confirmed buy, new buy, or confirmed new sell. That's the best way I can explain it. It's there to,
So
you
it
know, it's got
goes
to be
from
coded
green,
somehow.
yellow, red, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's coded to work that way. Yep. Yellow means it gets you out of whatever
like
the
caution.
priors. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
I got you.
Here's GLD.
Yeah, GLD is solidly bullish on the daily, and it's correcting on the short term, which is basically if you own a position, hold it. If you're trying to put a new position on, wait. Here's SLV. You know, if you look at SLV, it's really, this is a very volatile one. Options are great if you get a day that you got a Christmas day. But if you look at SLV, it opened the week at 78.4, and SLV, if you look at it today, it's at 78.6. It's still up for the week, but it's been up a lot higher this week if you look at it. But if you look at it sort of a sideways on the daily, and on the short term, it's been sort of headed down.
And finally, TLT.
No question about TLT, is it? Long, short, or out, you better be long. And we are. Okay? That's TLT. But I wanted to go through MTI by DTI because it is a powerful tool, and people tell me all the time, hey, the steps are when you first look at a market, you go through TLT. If you got a match on TLT, right, above the left-hand side, above the right-hand side, then you go to the reference bar approach on the roadmap, and if it's higher than that current reference bar, you got to play. 3 simple steps there, and the odds are extremely in your way. We'll go to a live market once we get a little bit closer here. Keep going. All right, news and seasonality that will affect the market in March. This is very important because there's certain news events that happen that will affect the trend of the market. So what we prepared for you is the first 3 days. We talked about it. We talked about March the 6th, the big report. That's the big mama employment report. Daylight savings time, because that's a change in patterns, people pattern. CPI, PCE, GDP, PPI, and FOMC day, and the last day of the month. That takes us through March. But I would take a picture of this slide and have it on my phone to refer back to once we get to March. Very well laid out, Jonathan. Very well laid out.
Yeah, thank you, Chuck, for doing this. Here's the next slide Chuck prepared for us.
Okay, much of the performance of March is a direct result of January and February. As the last month of the first quarter, March is often a corrected month, either bringing the market in or bringing it back. The news cycle typically has the third month as the final say in economic news like GDP. However, this year, many of the reports that we need to make that statement are going to be a little bit late. Now, this is pretty interesting. March is seasonal pattern. It's early spring, and it typically persists longer in midterm years, okay? And, you know, Jeff, my buddy Jeff from Stock Traders Almanac, is more persistent in midterm years. Well, this is the midterm year. We'll see just how persistent that trend will be. Now, after you do that and prep, I say the next step is what I do, which is T-Buzz Talk and Trade. If you want to make money with me and keep informed about the big picture into the daily picture and even into the minor picture through TNT. We have a Telegram channel. Here's sort of I start every morning at 5. How many people here really like the foundational view I give you every morning? It helps you plan your day, doesn't it? Like this morning, I said, this is not a Christmas day. And I give you numbers that are actionable. My big point this morning after NVIDIA earnings, write down 193 to 203. That's NVIDIA's whole story going forward into March. I take a snapshot overnight to get everybody current to see what we're looking at. Notice my pivot number today happened to be the same as the midpoint, 69.55. Throughout the entire day, we update it. I have a lot of help with Chuck and with Jonathan, putting key information in there at key times. Maybe a news item comes out, we'll Chuck a post in there. Hey, we just had this news unexpectedly at 10. Here's the pivot number off that news. I mean, you got somebody, you got a whole team of people trying to help you make good decisions throughout the day, or not. Here's some highlights. Magic 5 tickers, the stocks I expect to be hot that day. Now, I've told people typically where my eyes go is to that first horse that I post in the Magic 5. In this case, on this date, it was NVIDIA 202.55. The SPY was next because had a position in the SPY. The QQQ was next. Gold was next. Silver was next. They end up to 5 for today. Keeps you out of bad trade. These trigger numbers. This was a suggestion of a student I had in here. He said, Tom, he came in person down here and said, it'd be great if you'd take the time and give us trigger numbers for each of these Magic 5. I think that quadrupled the value of what you get. Let me promise you, NVIDIA goes above 202.55. Don't wait for me. My daily pivot number. I have some people, they'll look at the pivot number, check the market sometime during the day, and it sets the tone for them. That daily pivot number is very important for them making their decisions, whether to be active or whether to be quiet. Especially if they're bullish today, they just say, I'm going to go play golf. There it is. Living color. 5:39 this morning it was posted. Now, here's where I give you support and resistance numbers from early in the morning, okay? And there's the moneymaker I gave people today, 69.38, 7,005. When I started this morning, I said, if they hold the February open, chances are we're going to have an up day in the second half. Well, we didn't hold that. We went through that like Patton went through Germany. And next thing you know, we're down there at 68.7. But when did I know it? When it broke 69.55. I try to find where Wall Street is folks. Notice on trending analysis, NVIDIA is there. And other items that pop up, the Netflix, Palantir, just great stories that are posted in the morning right here in the front. One day of this information would definitely argue. And here's the insight I try to give towards near the market still shaky, hands off to RB3, watch NVIDIA. If you'd have done exactly that, you wouldn't have been buying anything because what happened was NVIDIA sold off and had a reference bar sell off, and down we went. That information, that one line right there. Now, the daily rundown, Chuck's been doing this for probably 20 plus years. It's an inside scoop of what happened in overnight markets and key trading levels of news for today. So now you got something you put on a clipboard and refer to throughout the day. It's updated every day, and Chuck is giving you this. Chuck, why don't you tell them about the daily rundown?
All right, Tom. Well, let's see. We start things off with your T-Buzz TV. Kind of hit the highlights of that, and of course, Train and Trade. We've got the silver wheel coming up a little bit later, and live trading. I think I got the times messed up on that. Live trading is supposed to be 1:30 p.m. Eastern, so I'll have to get that corrected. We got a list of big numbers that we're paying attention to. And you can see on that list 6955 Tom's pivot, that 7005 number that he's been talking about as resistance, plus the open of the week 6918 as major support. Yesterday's low 6892 quarter, and the low of the week 6828.50. We got below a couple of those, but did not make a new low of the week, so looking for the market to hang on. Right now, the number I'm paying a lot of attention to, Tom, is at 68.92. Right, that hanging around yesterday's low. Are we able to close above that? That's going to be the big question. And of course, 6902 is the open of the year. Under the market review, really going to look at a couple of big numbers. And let's see, Jonathan, if you highlight the column there or the row there where it talks about support. Support can likely be found yesterday's low, current low of the week, and if necessary, last week's low at 67.91. Those are some of the big numbers. Just above that, of course, the opens, open of the month, open of the week, open of the year. And, tomorrow we're going to be closing out the month and the week. So those numbers highly important. Yeah, 68.92 broken. We definitely went below it. No question about that. Lower low. And we did not make a higher high, 69.70.75 the high. So the market, which was in a downtrend, then moved into an uptrend, then moved into a downtrend, and then moved into an uptrend, is now basically you don't have a trend. We're just breaking everything everywhere we go. Major news events tomorrow, core PPI, and our major opens, key numbers opens. That's going to be a big part of what we look at. And you can see we are currently below the open of the day, the open of the month, the open of the week, and the open of the year, but we're still above the open of the fourth quarter. And quite frankly, when we opened last night, we were above the open of the month, the open of the week, and the open of the year. And that just shows you how, you look at the market. Is it a bullish market or a bearish market? The answer is not really. It's really kind of just sitting. We talked really a lot, Tom, last week about the market waiting. It's waiting, it's waiting, it's waiting. And of course, it was waiting for the news at the end of the week last week. It was waiting for the weekend. It was waiting for the State of the Union. It was waiting for the tariff address. So a lot of that has gone out of the way, but we still are waiting on a little bit more information. And that's, I think, the theme for this market. There are people who are going to look at this and say it's up. No, it's down. No, it really hasn't decided yet. So, really looking forward to the month of March where we might make a decision. But that's your daily rundown. And it certainly paints a picture of a market that's still trying to discover itself.
People in TNT, it's a lot of work to get all this stuff in there. Is this a helpful thing we ought to keep in there for you in TNT? I'm just curious how you feel about it as users of it. Okay, good. That's what I was hoping to hear.
Yeah, post into Telegram every morning in the TNT channel.
Now, this is a part, we went on for a couple of years, and I said, Chuck, I've got an affliction, which is if I write something down, I can't read it. And I said, Chuck, would you mind putting the reference bar numbers into the TNT room where I could go in there and pick out those numbers? Because if I could put those numbers and stack them from RB1, 2, 3, and 4, then I can take what I can do is take those numbers and make decisions. For example, look last night on bonds, 117. I'm long bonds right now, making money because I use the RB1 analysis. And right now we're higher than that. I'm just trucking right ahead. Now bonds, I checked it out on MTI. I got in at the reference bar high, and I've been long. This is the way you make money by using this, okay? And typically, I'll either scroll back or print it off if it's some real good numbers. That's RB1, 2, 3, and 4. He'll pop. Pretty cool stuff, huh? The other thing I want to make a comment about QQQ. If you look at it on RB3, opened at 615.32. The average range is about 10 points. So if you look at the QQQ at 607, we're down 80% of the day right now. And because of that, okay, The reason the market is a bad bet because it's already hit its ATR. So now you're getting into additional territory when I see stuff like that. 80% of ATR being used up this early in the day. In other words, hand still comes off the mouth. So if you want to join me in dtitrader.com/TNT, call 90 or you can call 904-706-3532. It's $200 a month. And you can quit anytime if it's not, floating your boat. But I tell you, I think once you get used to seeing how we do that, and in March, my promise will be just like we did this great video today with the 5 steps of success. I will get in and we'll make a presentation of how to maximize the benefit of TNT as a masterclass. So everybody get joined if you want to join, and you'll be invited to that masterclass as we build that together. Wendy said, good grief, after seeing this, even if you don't like it, what's $200 when it comes to trading? Right, Wendy, I agree with you. So there's the link. You can get joined, dtitrader.com/TNT. Now, I want to go to a live market, Jonathan, and give it a take, but why don't we do that? Let everybody that wants to join get joined. Won't give in 10 minutes. We'll come back and go to live market and analyze the genesis of some of the key tickers. We'll put a timer up for everybody.
Get that going. How many minutes?
Give me 10. I'm going to walk around for 10. Just stand up. I've been sitting here, and then we'll come back and go to a live market.
Okay, sounds good.
Has it been 10 minutes? I didn't see a timer.
You know what, Tom? I apologize. I forgot to set the screen share up correctly. We've been about not quite 5 minutes, been about 4.5.
All right, we'll come back in 5. right, folks, let's jump over to a live market and let's start with the Seven Sisters and a few tickers I want to look at. The first one is the E-mini. If you look at the E-mini, you say to yourself, okay, you had to break down off RB3. That high was 60, what was it, 69.60 area. That's where we opened last night. So it came up, tested the open, and said, that's all she wrote. And then we had the big down bar, the red bar that took us down to the target. And then you had the bar after that made a low. And then all of a sudden you had a corrective. And the reason I say corrective, Jonathan, if you'll show them where 69.38 is, that's the month open for February. And then you showing the corrective bar, we had that green bar followed by the positive bar. That was the first sign that we had a higher high. And then all of a sudden, Genesis pops up, the controlling bar, and we went below the previous bar. And now we're down here at the low end of Genesis, which means that typically you get a test of the low, which is what, 68.70, and we're 68.90. So when I say a test, sometimes it doesn't make a low, but it comes down there and looks like it's going to do that. But Genesis right now is basically negative unless we get above that 69, what is it, 69.20 area. And then it would run into resistance at 69.38. So it looks to me like there's not much room for the market to, get running shoes on. It's basically a hands off type market on the E-mini. Look at the NASDAQ. It's had a little bit rougher time today. Look at the percentage drop. NASDAQ is down 1.67%. Again, where's the monthly open for the NASDAQ? Below it, week open, below it. That's different than the S&P, right? When the week open, what do you have for the week open on the S&P?
We're still looking at the S&P. I wanted to add some lines and some meaning to those orange lines so that people can visually. That's the S&P. You can see that the 69.38 month open, they just totally blew right past that. And also the weekly open. And on the bounce back, they stopped it at that weekly open level, 69.18.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I was showing a week open. Maybe because I had to, probably need to reopen my computer. Still using it. But anyway, that's interesting. And so numbers work. You just got to know where to look. 69.20 area. Now, here it is, 12:30, and this is sort of some sideways action. Okay.
Yeah, I'll switch it over to the NASDAQ now, Tom.
Okay. Again, we want to know where the monthly open, weekly open are. Where are they?
The monthly open is at 25,530. That's above the picture. Slightly above the screen.
That's all you got to tell me. NASDAQ is having a bad month. That's what when you can't get it on the chart you're looking at, it's having a bad month. So, and this is something I want to bring up, an insight. Did the low of the NASDAQ this month go lower than January's low? That's a question I got. Maybe Chuck can tell us.
Yeah, we set the low of the year earlier this month, 67.51.50.
But the low was 60. What was it? No, for the NASDAQ.
Oh, for the NASDAQ, let's see. Take a quick second here.
Yeah, well,
And what have you got, Jonathan? What are you showing?
I'm looking at a monthly chart on the NASDAQ and it looks well below January's low. We have a low here at 24,239.
Yeah, which gets actually the next big number would be back in November of, let's see, 23,904.50.
down there, fourth quarter low, right?
Yeah, so, you know, basically what they're telling you is the Mag 7 stocks, the Apples, the Amazons, the Metas, all those that showed up on that 3-day viewpoint are weak. All right, what about the Dow? This is a different story for the Dow. Notice today it was trying to lead us higher, and then it reversed and came back the other way and went to, after it went to the target up there, it reversed and then went down to the target on the downside. The Dow's had quite a volatile day, hasn't it?
Sure has. Sure has.
Yeah, Tom, interesting thing about the Dow, the low of the year was set on January 2nd in the Dow.
What was the low of the year for the Dow? I'm gonna write that down.
Let's see. Make sure I get this right. 48,092.
48,092 is the low of the year. And
And that was and the important point here, Tom, that was on January 2nd, which is the first trading day of the year.
that is an important point. And what he's being, what we both say an important point, because that sets the year of 2026. You know, right now, everything from day one takes you to higher prices in the Dow. If you go look at the percentages for the year on the diamond, this is what I'm alluding to, I guess. If you go to the diamond, find it real quick. Yeah, if you go to it, the diamond is still up 2.34% for the year. So if you got diamond, all 30 diamond stocks, you're up on your portfolio about 2.34. Then you could go into the diamond stocks and find out what the real ones. I can tell you McDonald's, J&J are a couple off the top of my head. General Motors, you know, this first few years had a good year probably. I'm just telling you, there's stocks inside that 30 industrials that we probably ought to look at some later presentation. All right, so we finished the, let's look at gold. That's a gold. Let's start out with where did it open the month at? Put the month to open on gold.
48,
call out the number.
48.16, well below the chart.
Still bullet. Okay, where's the week open?
The week open was 51.28, which is also below the chart. I can kind of scrunch things up again.
Yeah.
Put that.
And where's the daily open today?
The daily open is that blue line right there across the center of the chart.
So we're above that, aren't we? Now let's look at the actual charts themselves. What was RB3's high?
RB3's high was 51.92, gold futures.
Right there. So gold is basically hanging in there pretty good. That's probably why GDX is hanging in there pretty good. Gold miners outperforming basic gold. All right, go to silver, SLV.
SLV, there's SLV. The month opened down at 73.80 off screen below, so we're above it. And the week opened 78.40. We're pretty much right there. Excuse me.
So SLV is pulled back to where we opened the week. So silver is not performing as well as gold, is it? That's gold and silver. The next one I want to look at is QQQ. Now, again, I told you today the QQQ was at 80% of its ATR just for the day, using about 10 points as its average true range. There it is, 10.19. So if you look at the QQQ, you got a negative reference bar that gave you a heads up below the target low. And the opening price today for the QQQ was 615, and the QQQ right now is trading 606. So it's right at almost maximum ATR, which means you're going to have to get higher than Genesis to get a reversal, in my opinion. Okay. What's the Genesis high?
QQQ Genesis high is 608.95.
Yeah, it'd take quite a little movement here to get QQQ up, but it could happen. It'd be about 2 points up. So write that number down. All right, the next one we're going to look at is the SPY. If you look at the SPY and you say, well, where did it open the month of February at?
689.5.
And the SPY is at 686, not that far away, about 3 points. But if you look at it and say to yourself, well, what does Genesis say? Well, we went low before Genesis, and now Genesis is, again, support stepping in at the low of Genesis. So you got to watch it. But to get a turnaround on the SPY, you got to get higher than Genesis. What's Genesis high?
That would be 688.90.
Yeah, there's the SPY for you. Let's go on and look at the cash index. This takes out a lot when you look at SPX. Okay. Sort of the same pattern, negative reference bar down to the lows, trying to find support here. You don't have to have RB4 turn positive to get this market to try to retrace back to the midpoint. And the midpoint of SPX today is 69.03. Where's it at, Jonathan? 68 what?
68.86.
No, that's where it is, but what's the midpoint?
69.
I just said it, 69.03, sorry, right?
You got it, yep.
Yeah, which is the high of SPX. So, yeah, a little work to do, but it doesn't scare you to death. All right, other ticker. Look at NVIDIA. Off the top of my head, without looking at a chart, I'd tell you 193 is resistance and 185 is support. That's NVIDIA's story to me. 93, 85. Write this down. If NVIDIA goes above 202 and 255, don't wait for me to tell you to get long. And where did NVIDIA open the month at? Given a measure with 1 day to go.
187.20.
It's 187.87. I told you going back, I think it was 3 or 4 years, NVIDIA's never had a month that actually ended up below its opening in the research I did. And it's real close today. It won't be much, but if it closed here today at 87, 88, it was still kept that straight screen going. That's pretty interesting to me to know that little factor about it. All right, Josh, let's go through the 6 trades we did yesterday on Marathon, the tickers, and I'll make some comments.
Okay, let's see.
Now, these trades are tracked for everybody in TNT. Everybody realizes that, right? Give me a yes if you know, because I'm not going to do this every day in here, but I'm going to do it today because I'm feeling hand off the mouth. We keep up with these in there. So if you got these trades, no time to be without TNT.
Trade number 1 was on GDX.
I put GDX in there.
Okay. Actually, trade 1 and 2, or 1A and 1B, I guess.
Yeah, look at GDX.
It's GDX, 30-minute chart.
Notice that GDX is actually above its RB3 and stopped here at Genesis. I think that looks fairly decent. About a midway retracement from the high to the low. Not bad. It's having a better day than some, GDX.
And the SPY was another one.
The SPY is not looking as good as GDX, but we're in the 72-hour rule. This is day one, so we'll see where we are. We'll play it out. All right, what else?
Well, next was TLT, or let's do QQQ because that was part of that.
Yeah.
Oops,
Same thing, 72-hour rules in effect.
SLV.
What is it?
SLV.
72-hour rules in effect.
And finish up TLT.
TLT's looking good. It's having a good day. And that expires tomorrow, right?
Right. Yes, right.
Yeah. And I haven't checked, but we're probably up on what we did yesterday on that one. You know, it got PPI tomorrow. I'd probably take the profit, decent one this afternoon on TLT. And we paid 80 cents for it, didn't
I paid 79.
we?
But yeah,
79. And where's it currently trading right now?
it's at 89 last I looked.
Yeah, I'd take profit above 90 on that one. Okay. I'd book it with PPI tomorrow.
Here you
Nice return. I'd take it and book it. You can tell that and post that into the room and in Anchor. Put it in there.
Type that out as we speak, Tom.
Okay. Folks, I hope you enjoyed what we put together, the 5 steps for success. Clearly, we'll have a recording for you, and I hope it helps you. And we'll put T&T back in here. Jonathan, some people asked about how to buy MTI. If you got a link, you might post that. And they asked how to buy live trading, a link for those two. I saw a couple links or a couple requests for that.
Okay, here's the TNT slide. I'll post a link to join TNT, followed by a link for MTI. And then I'll dig up the link for live trade. Post that too.
Yeah.
I'll also post a link for Silver Wheel because in 22 minutes you go live for that.
Well, let's take a break, eat some lunch, and come back. Look at these metals market and see exactly what things are cooking. I think this is, if I used a phrase, this is just something, a new one I got for you. I've used it before, but I'm going to make it official. If I say it ain't Christmas, I'm probably going to say follow that by hands off the mouse. Best decision I made all day. I enjoyed being with everybody. Hope you got something out of today's presentation for your time and get you some real good thinking about what's next. We're coming out of February, going into March. Tell your friends, get in here. It's free. I think if they come, they won't leave. We got some good stuff going on in here. Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Chuck. And I learned a new word today. Okay, I asked Jonathan, I said, what's that word? It's called pin up ultimate. Is that what you said? Pin up ultimate?
That's it. Yep.
I thought only an English major would know that. I didn't know it. You know, Chuck was an English major.
Well, we're not here to learn English from you, Tom, so that's all good.
Yeah, really. It means the day before the last day, David. You didn't know it either? I've never seen it before. I probably, when I took the SAT, if it was on my deal, I said, Figured out, I don't know what that means. I never figured out pin up ultimate was the day before the last day. Chuck seemed happy about it. Everybody have a great day. If one of those days you just got to sit back and laugh about things, because today's not Christmas.